Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. 15 games in the NBA on Monday so that everybody can get out and vote on Tuesday. Means a couple things. Means we've got every single team in the league playing on Monday night. Also means I want to run another giveaway with you guys. So jump in the comments. Let me know who is going to be the leading scorer of the night throughout the NBA on any team. Give me the leading scorer in the comments. Make you eligible for $100 if you do get that right. We'll throw you in the raffle with anybody who does get it right and give that out to you guys. So if that all sounds good to you, I'm going to get into 8 player prop projections that I was able to get to on Sunday night. Give that video a like. Let's get right into it. As we get into Jalen Brunson, savior of New York. Also want to remind everyone, we do have the WAP.com link if you want to get into the VIP Discord. Don't miss a bet that I'm placing right now this NBA season. And you can get that NBA season pass, 40% off if you want to go ahead and skip that monthly price. Everything's in the description of the video for you guys. But let's get into JB here and talk about him against Houston. Perfect matchup to go ahead and fade Jalen Brunson assists here. They open at 7.5, and that is much too high. That's too high against most teams in the NBA. It's certainly too high against a team that prioritizes limiting assists to the point guard and specifically limiting spot-up shooters and their ability to get open looks, right? So you look at the defense and the rankings that this Houston defense has, they allow the third most points to point guards. They allow the third fewest assists to the position. And that was the case last year as well because they have Dillon Brooks. And Dillon Brooks is a pest. He is an aggressive defender that's going to foul the point guard. Jalen Brunson is hunting, I should say, the foul free throw line, right? He's going and getting guys up in the air with those shot fakes, all in the mid-range and going to the bucket. That's going to be what he does here against Dillon Brooks once again. And he's not going to see much help defense the way that he might from other teams that like to double the ball. All of the ball pressure from Houston comes from one-on-one man coverage and everybody sticking to shooters so that there's no open looks, right? No help defense. But like I said, even if Brunson was playing against a team that wasn't this good against limiting assists, 7.5 is insane. He's averaging 5.6 on the season on just 9.2 assists. He only has 2 games so far this year with more than double-digit potential assists, only 9.2 potential. So this is a really good situation to fade a really high number, totally mispriced. Hopefully you can still get it under 7.5. One more reminder, we have the live show going every single weekday now, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Jump into the YouTube channel, bring your bets, get into those comments, and then we go over the bets that you guys are looking at together. Having a really good time showing the tools and the process that I'm using to get all those bets. So hopefully see you there on Monday for a very, very big slate. We're going to be going for a couple hours on Monday for sure, but let's talk about Jabari Smith. Haven't put this bet in yet, but I like him on the rebounds in this matchup with the Knicks. This is the position where you can get a bunch of boards playing power forward against New York. Very simple reasons, right? Now, let's start with his numbers. 8.2 rebounds per game in 32.6 minutes. I think he's going to be at the 30-minute mark plus all year. Very important player at the power forward position, even when Tari Eason is in, not really taking the minutes from Jabari this year yet. 13 rebound chances per game, so 8 boards on 13 rebound chances, a little bit steep. Not necessarily something that is going to be consistent all season, but I will say that New York allows the 8th most rebounds per game to power forwards, once again, for good reason. He's going to be guarding OG. OG is this team's power forward, Anunoby, and OG is spending a lot of time above the break, right? He spends a lot of time in the corner. He's sort of an outlet as a spot-up shooter for guys like Jalen Brunson, which means Jabari Smith is going to have the benefit of standing close to the baseline, near where a lot of those rebounds are going to fall. We see that a lot. Whenever a guy is really going to be positioned on the baseline and closer to the basket for the majority of the game based on the matchup that he has, like Jabari in this one, then that's a good opportunity to take those rebounds for the guy that's already standing in the spot where those rebounds are going to land. I like him for the boards. It's over 6.5. Plus money, though, is what it opened at. So if you can get around there, I think that's a good look. Haven't placed this bet just yet. Waiting on a few things to come down with the injury reports for these teams, too. Moving on to Sac and Miami. Really interesting here because both defenses play very similar styles. They both pressure the ball a ton on the point guard, allow a little bit more to spot ups, especially in the corner. And that's why I'm looking at Scary in this one. Scary Terry, he's got the most spot up points per game for this Miami team. He's also got the ball in his hands the most. He's got the most touches, the most average time with the ball in his hands. So he's been a big time, not necessarily ball hog for them, but a guy that they want to have the ball in his hands. Jimmy Butler's been taking a back seat every game. It just doesn't even look like he's trying, to be honest with you. I don't know what to make of that man in the regular season. But for Scary, spot up shooters and in the corners, he's taking a lot of his shots, 30% of his points coming from the corner 3. So this is the perfect type of player to catch and release from the different parts below the break against Sacramento, who's a bit better above the break. You look at them in terms of the way that they defend point guards. They allow a ton of assists. They do not allow points per game. And scary, I'm considering more of an off-ball two guard than I am the point guard. You see a lot more of Tyler Hero with the ball in his hands up top. They've even had Drew Smith come in and handle that ball, whereas Terry is coming off the ball and getting a lot of those spot-up opportunities and really just his opportunities to do what he wants with the ball, whether it's drive or catch the spot up and put it up. So I love the idea of the two guard getting a lot more points this year against the Kings, similarly to how the Heat are playing defense themselves, which is why I'm eyeing Keegan Murray's points in this one as well. On the other side of the ball, Miami allows the 4th most corner threes, not as many as Sac, who allows the most, but a ton. 12th most spot up, and I would argue that's only going to continue because they're going to play this style of ball where they just pressure the crap out of the point guard, force the ball out of the main ball handler's hands, which is going to be mostly De'Aaron Fox and some DeMar DeRozan, and allow the spot ups to get a little bit more open than those ball handlers on the ball trying to shoot off the pull-up, right? Much better against the pull-up. They do allow Miami the 3rd most three-pointers as well on the season, which I don't know is going to be maintained for them. I think they will get better on defense. We already saw them with a nice bounce-back game against Washington, albeit, but it's a nice get-right spot for them to kind of move forward. I mean, they're kind of an enigma throughout the regular season, are the Heat, but one thing's for sure, when they play defense, they're playing this style of defense, which is force things down to the corners and get the ball out of the best players' hands like De'Aaron Fox. Also have Kevin Huerter is questionable right now. If he does not go, I love this play. It's only about 13.5 points for Murray, who's gone over that number 4 out of 6 games this season, I believe, so far. So if you see Huerter out, that's going to mean 2 more threes for Keegan Murray, who's making 1 more of them per game and getting, as a result, 3 more points per game without Kevin Huerter. With Huerter's out, we're going to see Keon Ellis come in and play and be a lot less involved in the offense than Keegan Murray will in the starting lineup. And then we'll see Malik Monk come in and play a lot more minutes with the starting lineup as well. But he's also going to be more of a facilitator, whereas we'll have Keegan Murray in the spot-up position no matter who's on the floor with him. So I'm eyeing his stuff and his points specifically in this one. Denver is taking on Toronto again. Hopefully they won't need overtime to beat them, but we'll see. Either way, Jamal Murray has been ruled out. So that means we're probably going to see a lot more of, well, we know we're going to see Russ Westbrook. He started last time. What did his usual 1 for 8 from the field, had 7 dimes. But Julian Strawther came in and was awesome. 11 field goal attempts, ended with 19 points in just 19 minutes. He was hot shooting for sure, but he had 5 fouls, which is why those minutes were down. He had 3 by the beginning of the second quarter. It cost him at least 5 minutes in this game of play time, if not more, to be honest with you, because he missed a good portion of the third quarter and he missed about 5 to 6 minutes in the second quarter that he would have gotten if he wasn't hurt. So with that in mind, especially with Russ now playing slightly fewer minutes with the backups and Julian Strawther still coming off the bench, he's got even more opportunity because Russ isn't there to take the ball out of his hands like he is wont to do. If you think this is going to be a blowout, and granted, the Nuggets have had a very weak start to the season, but they finished off their road trip strong and beat the crap out of the Jazz by like 26 points. So I would say to a degree, they're capable of being back right now. And even if they don't have that blowout in them, they are at home. So they're going to be playing better. Julian Strawther should have, as a role player and a young guy, a lot more confidence playing at home, which we'll see him probably continue to average a few more points per game when they play in their own building. But bottom line is he should be seeing 24, 25 minutes in this game. And if he's in there for that amount of time and he's supposed to be shooting, he's really a crucial off-ball scorer for them with the starting lineup and the facilitator and scorer in the secondary lineup when Russ isn't on the floor with him, like he shouldn't be in this game. So I think this is a really nice spot to take Julian Strawther. He doesn't have props out yet, but I would take his over up to about 8.5 points. Switching over to the Clippers and the Spurs. I'm looking at Zubac again. And for Zoo, I kind of like the assists in this one. This is a situation where I think he's kind of fadeable in the points and the rebounds, to be honest, against Wemby. You look at the way that the Spurs have defended centers so far, obviously Wemby being the majority of the reason of that, and they are not giving up points or rebounds. 6th in terms of limiting rebounds to the position, 9th in terms of limiting points. They do, however, allow the 8th most assists per game to centers because you kind of need to pass out when you're down low versus Wemby. The Spurs limiting everything that Zubac and other centers want to do in terms of the way that they score. 6th fewest points per game to the roll man on the pick and roll. 6th fewest points per game to anybody who's posting up, mostly the centers. So Wemby able to handle that one-on-one defense super well. He changes the entire geometry of basketball with his ability to block shots from 10 feet away from people. So that is a huge reason, and the reason why centers are struggling so much against the Spurs, but a big reason that they need to give to pass out and get assists as a result of passing out. And Zoo has about 5.5 potential assists per game. This opens at 1.5 assists, only available on a few books as I'm recording this. So I usually prefer to have at least a couple of books with lines up so I can compare rather than just bake on one book giving me a prop unless I'm super into it. So 1.5 for about minus 110, 115, I think is a good over. The thing to consider here for this game in general, the Clippers and the Spurs are playing very slowly and very good defense. So this is not the Spurs from last year with 120 defensive rating, playing at 105 pace because they have no defense and they need to get out into transition. They now have Chris Paul, which makes their half-court offense a lot better, which is also why they slow down the ball. So big, this matters, right? Like these two teams are going to play a much slower game. 3rd defensive rating for the Spurs, 6th for the Clips, 26th pace for the Spurs, 20th in pace for the Clippers. Chris Paul, James Harden, they're going to slow the crap out of the game. They're going to take the air out of the ball. It's not going to give very many opportunities to guys like Zubac, who probably will only have about 8 to 10 field goal attempts overall in this game. Not necessarily something that you want to bank on for him to make like 80% of his shots, right? And get over the 15.5 points that he's at. And the rebounds also at about 10.5, a little bit high. So I think assists are the best play if you want to take an over for Zubac in this one. What does that mean for James Harden? I think he's going to be doing a lot more shooting and scoring than he will going to the bucket and getting assists that way, right? There's not going to be much in terms of lobs that are available to him at the rim. Wemby's going to swat all of that. You know that's a huge reason for his assists is his drives that turn into dimes. The other thing here for him is going to be how much this team goes under the screen. I would hope that they would know that they need to go over the screen against James Harden, who's always looking to pull off of the pick and roll. But that being said, they usually stick to their guns, and they've allowed the 5th most threes above the break, the 10th most points to pick and roll ball handlers as well, because they don't really get out and hedge very hard on those screens. You need to against Harden. So at 3.5 threes, he's averaging about 10 of them per game. I think he's very capable of hitting 4 in this one. For plus money, I think threes are the best play for Harden. But I would not be looking at the assists or the points overall necessarily for James in a situation where Wemby and company are going to make things very difficult everywhere inside the paint. Also looking at Jordan Poole, and this is one that I really want to fade. I can see him going off, though. I can see him doing things that he wouldn't necessarily normally be capable of or isn't consistent with, like getting to the bucket and hitting a ton of threes because of the revenge narrative, right? This is going to be a situation more than last year where he played the Warriors twice. He went under all his numbers for points and assists twice against them last year. But at the same time, it was a different team, and he wasn't really getting the same amount of run that he's seeing right now, where Kuzma's out. It's about 32 minutes per game for Poole now without Kuzma, with the ball in his hands a ton, really the only point guard on the team. So it does make me a little bit nervous to take the points for him. The assists are something I think are a pretty good under. It's only 6.5, and he's had a ton of potential assists this season. But Golden State's been very good limiting point guards both in the points and the assists. So when you get up to about 30.5 points and assists for Poole, although the revenge narrative is there, I can't get away from the fact that this is the 2nd best defensive team in the league so far this year for the Warriors. And I think that's going to be maintained because they play so many guys. They have fresh bodies all the time. And a lot of those guys are very good defensive wings. Moses Moody, Gary Payton Jr., even Wiggins, obviously, Kuminga. TJD is a good defensive center. Not great, good. You always have Draymond back there. So there's going to be a lot of good defenders that are going to be on the floor consistently. They're all going to be thrown at Jordan Poole. I lean strongly to the under on about 30.5 points and assists for him. One more reminder about the live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern every day. Bring your bets. Jump in the comments. We'll go over all that stuff together. I'll give you guys a little bit of the strategies and the way that I look at these things to find value. Also want to let you know the NFL video for Monday Night Football is out with player prop projections for those, about 8 or 9 of them in there for you guys to make those player props for yourself as well on Monday night in the NFL. So hope that all sounds good to you. I'll be back here with plenty more coming this week. So until I see y'all next, happy betting.